Once we have the menu working, we need to generate those blocks. So what we're going to do is we're going to first get the sprites, and the sprites will be given to you, and you just have to probably unzip them and just drag them over into the resource folder. So now we have the sprites, right? The reds are for a loss, the greens are for a win. So the next thing we have to do is we have to have a reference to these sprites. So we're going to make a new class here called level. And in level, we'll do a similar regions. So we'll make a region variables. And we're going to have a singleton model here too. So the only difference here for the singleton model is that we do want to destroy this. So when we go to the main menu again, from here, we do want to destroy this, right? But we still have a reference to it as needed. So we need to make this, but we want to make it inside the awake. So we'll have an awake function, and we'll make the singleton. And the next thing we need is we need a variable. So we need a variable, and so we have the whole thing. We have the function, we have the variable, and we're initializing the function. Okay, so that's the level. So let's get to the sprites. So in the level, we're going to give each sprite a name. So we're going to declare a numerator type for each sprite, and then we'll give each sprite a name. So the first set is the ones where you don't win. So we're associating a number with each of those sprites. So here's the first set. Here's the second set, which represents the wins, right? These are the green ones. And we're starting at 21, so this will be 22, 23, 24. So we can associate a number with these later, and we can decide which one of these sprites to use. The next one will be the lost, and the lost will start at 40. I think, yeah, 40. That will be the lost. And the last set will be the flags, right? The hidden and the question and the flag. So that's our numerator type. And this will be in the level. But we're not going to store the sprites in here because the level keeps on being destroyed every time you make a new level. We don't want to regenerate the sprites every time. So we're going to go to the controller. And since the controller is persistent, that's a good place to put it, right? To put these sprites, so we don't have to regenerate them from the file. So let's go to the controller, and we're going to make this into a dictionary. A dictionary is an association where you can have a sprite, you can have a word related to another object. So first we declare the dictionary. Once we declare it, we do need to instantiate it. So I think, so to instantiate it, we need to go to the delegates, right? So the delegates are going to control what's happening in the game. So we're going to go to the setter function you see here, and we're going to say set the sprites, and once the sprites are set, we'll go to the menu. And the menu doesn't do anything, it just, just waits for you to click those buttons. So let's put this function right in here. I would say in the variables, or let's put it over here. Let's see, variables. So let's keep it in the variables, right? So set sprites, and this will be the function. So we need to instantiate the library, or the dictionary I should say, and then just a temporary variable as we retrieve each sprite from the resource folder. Okay, so You'll see how this works. So now what we do is we go to the resource folder, and by name we retrieve that sprite. Then we put it into the library and we give it a name. So you have to hard code this because the names are all different, right? So we're getting these names from the level, right? So this level sprite 1 play. So as we go down the list, this takes a little while. As we go down the list, we get the next one, and this is a 2 play, right? So this all refers to these images here, right? If we go to resources, so we have these images, and they have their names, so we have to associate them with their names. Okay, so the first set might look like this, right? 1 play, 2 play, 3 play, 4 play, 5 play, 6, 7, 8. So now that's the first set, and the second set will be the wins, right? So again, if you look at the pattern here, this one is the same pattern, except it'll be 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, 1. That's the win set. And the last one will be the lost set. So the lost set, it's the same pattern, except it says 1 lost, 2 lost, 3 lost, 4 lost, 5 lost. And the last, we have a bunch of, flags and stuff like that, and mines. So let's just say, other, other sprites. So here are the other sprites. And I have hidden mine. This is a mine win. This is a red one. This is a green one. We have a question, a flag. Anyway, I'm not even sure we used every one of these, but okay, we have them just in case. So those are the sprites. And now we're ready to use them to make some blocks. So let's start making these blocks. The first thing I want to just go back and show you is that when you click a button right here, when you click a button, it takes you to the game scene, right, of course, and also changes the game state to the level setup, right? So that means in level setup, we need to actually do something. So what we're going to do in level setup is we're going to check just to be sure we're in the game, right? So what this does, it checks to see if you're in the game. And then if you are in the game, we're going to call the function level setup. And we're going to give you the number of the level. Remember the button, when you click a button, we're saving that. And then we change the game state to player move. We'll get to player move in a moment, but so this is the setup level. Okay, in level, we need this function, setup level, right? So I'm going to go to a level, and I'm going to just close this variables, right? We'll make we'll make a new region here. I think we'll do it over here. So we'll make a new region called gameplay. Region gameplay. Okay, and then in here we'll put the function setup level. So the setup level, you're passing in the level. We're going to actually store that. So we need a variable in level to keep track of what level we're at. So let's do that. Back in the variables, right? So we have these. We'll minimize this, takes a lot of room, and we'll add a new variable level, right? Okay, now we have that. So, wrong one. So we save that. And then the next thing is we need to get the sprites, right? Because we need the sprites in here. So let's declare that variable, right? At the same time, looks like we're going back and forth here a lot. So we're going to declare this variable, right? And we'll make it public, but we don't want to have it in the inspector, right? The inspector is this little part over here. When you click on something, it shows up, but we don't want that to show up there. Okay, so we have our variables, right? We set it. And now we need a few functions. We need a function called set variables and generate blocks, right? So those are going to come in a moment. The generate blocks, it's going to be pretty heavy. But the set variables has to do with the number of mines, the rows and columns, right? So actually this shouldn't be gameplay, this should be setup, level setup. Let's change that. Okay, so like I said, we need a function called set level variables, that's this one, and what we're going to do here is set a few parameters for each level. So how this is going to work, it's going to be based on the level num, right? So we're going to do a switch statement. If the level num, I think we start at 0. I'll check that, right? So if it's 0, then you just choose your rows and columns, right? That'll be up to you. You play around with that, right? So we have 3 levels, so I'm going to need 3 of those. 1, 2, 3, and you can play around with that and determine, how many rows and columns you want. But we have 3 of these. So I could make this one, let's say 9 and 16, and make this one 10 and 8. Later on you'll see, you play around with this and you can change it. Okay, so we have rows and columns. So we need to actually have these variables, right? So let's go back to the variables, and right here we have the rows and columns. We're also going to need the mines, right? Private num int num mines. So the number of mines, you can hard code this. You can go over here and says num mines, whatever you want. I'm going to use a formula here though. So I'm going to use a formula just to give me some flexibility here, right? So I'm going to say, I'm going to make it a fraction of the columns, right? So I'll use this variable fraction, and whatever, so if you have 8 by 8, 64, I'll take a fraction of that. So it's a formula instead of hard coding, but you could put a number of mines into each one of those. So again, we need that variable. We're going to go up here, and we're going to put the fraction. I'll use the fraction 0.05. So the bigger this number is, the less mines you're going to get. So you could play around with that also. Okay, so when I go back and I look, I have some errors. One of them is the sprites. I'm using uppercase instead of lowercase, and I didn't import a scene manager. So in level, I need to make this a lowercase, right? This is a lowercase sprite, and in the controller, we need a scene manager. And so we need to import a scene manager. If I save everything, it should all clear up. It says it's inaccessible, so I'll make that public. So I'll make that public. Okay, so it's all, looks like it's all good.